Hello, all my library friends. This week is all about reindeer. Let's sing our hello song and get our reindeer fun started. Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? How are you today? I'm fine. How about you? I'm fine. How about you? I'm fine. How about you? How are you today? I have a book to share today that is about a naughty reindeer named Ruby, titled The Naughtiest Reindeer, written by Nikki Greenberg and published by Allen and Unwin. Rudolph the reindeer was lying in bed with a runny nose and an ache in his head. "I'm sorry," he groaned. "I just can't pull a sleigh. You'll have to ask my sister Ruby instead." "Ruby?" cried Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. "Not Ruby." "She's naughty, she's flighty, she's silly, she's wild. She'll weed down the chimneys or trample a child. She'll chew all the presents, she'll knock down the trees. I'd rather a camel, not Ruby. No, please." "Stop whining, you lot," boomed out Santa's big voice. "It's Christmas tomorrow. We haven't a choice." "Come Dasher, come Dancer, come Prancer and Vixen, come Comet, come Cupid, come Donner and Blitzen. Come Ruby, come Ruby, Ruby." Oh dear, where's that deer? "Yippee!" shouted Ruby. "I'm here! I'm here! Me on a sleigh! Oh, fabulous day! The North Pole's so dull, let's go south right away. Goodbye, elves! Goodbye, workshop! Goodbye, ice and snow! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!" "Oh dear," said the deer. For most of the night, things were going all right. Delivering toys through the timing was tight. Ruby tried hard, just as hard as she could, to be quiet, obedient, careful, and good. But pulling a sleigh wasn't really much fun. It was packed full of toys, but she couldn't have one. And while Santa went in and got cookies to eat, she had to wait fidgeting out in the street. "I'm bored," grumbled Ruby. Then she had an idea. "Oh dear, Ruby, no, Ruby, no," said the deer. The trouble began right here in the street. Ruby squeezed through the window with mud on her feet, tripped over a cat and spilled milk on the floor, got tangled in tinsel, then crept out the door. "That was fun," giggled Ruby. "How about just one more?" But could she stop? She could not. At number 11, she raided the kitchen, tried on Christmas stockings, and broke all the stitching. At number 13, she destroyed Grandma's purse, and at 26A, she did something worse. In house after house, Ruby muddled and messed, and by daybreak, well, Santa was horribly stressed. "Disaster," he wailed. "Christmas morning is here. We're running behind, all because of that deer. Home, Dasher, home, Dancer, home, Woozy and Watsy." The sun had come up and poor Santa had lost it. Worse yet, there were presents still left in the sack. He'd missed out one house, and he couldn't go back. Those children will just have to wait till next year. No Christmas for them. thanks to that wretched deer. By the time he got home, Santa's head was quite hazy. "You missed a house," yelled his wife. "Are you crazy?" "We'll be out of a job," she cried, seizing an elf. "Just hand me those presents. I'll go there myself." "Quick, come Dasher, come Dancer, come Prancer and Vixen, come Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. Come Ruby, come Ruby, Ruby, where's that deer?" Mrs. Claus sputtered. "Mrs., you've left her behind. Forgetting a deer, are you out of your mind? You'd lose your own beard if it wasn't stuck on." And then with a shake of the reins, she was gone. Meanwhile, right here in your street, two children woke up full of Christmas Day cheer. They'd written to Santa and been good all year. They rushed down the hall to look under the tree, but their hearts sank, their smiles fell. For what did they see? A big empty space where their presents should be. It was bad. They were sad. "Santa's been," cried the boy. "Look, he's eaten his cake and drunk all his milk. Has there been some mistake?" But just then his big sister jumped up with a shout. From there on the sofa, with crumbs round her snout, was a deer, a real reindeer, curled up fast asleep. "Is it true?" they both gasped. "Could she be ours to keep?" From their perch on the roof on that bright Christmas Day, Mrs. Claus and her team watched the new friends at play. As they cartwheeled and capered, she heard Ruby say, "Let me stay. I'll be good. I'll be good. Let me stay." "Goodness me," Mrs. Claus said. "You've got quite a nerve. After all the mischief you hardly deserve." Then she stopped and she thought, "I don't know if I ought." "Well," she said, "you haven't exactly been good," she said. "All right." "Yippee!" shouted Ruby. Then quickly, before the two children could see them, up into the sky was the sleigh and its team. "Goodbye, Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen. Farewell, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. Merry Christmas," they whispered. "Be good, Ruby dear. Wipe your feet. Mind your manners. We'll see you next year." Oh my, Ruby was a naughty reindeer. But in the end, everyone was happy, even Ruby. Next, I have an activity about 5 little reindeer. 5 little reindeer playing in the snow. The first one said, "I can see my nose glow." The second one said, "Listen to me sing." The third one said, "I can hear the bells ring." The fourth one said, "Let's eat some pie." The fifth one said, "I'm ready to fly." And so they stomped their hooves, and the snow fell white as the 5 little reindeer flew out of sight. Let's read and count together with 8 Jolly Reindeer, published by Cartwheel Books. 8 jolly reindeer stretching up to heaven. Up goes Dasher, and then there were 7. 7 jolly reindeer start their kicks. Up goes Dancer. And then there were 6. 6 jolly reindeer learning how to drive. Up goes Prancer, and then there were 5. 5 jolly reindeer ready to soar. Up goes Vixen, and then there were 4. 4 jolly reindeer jumping with glee. Up goes Comet, and then there were 3. 3 jolly reindeer steady their crew. Up goes Cupid, and then there were 2. 2 jolly reindeer start to run. Up goes Donner, and then there was 1. 1 jolly reindeer finds his gate. Up goes Blitzen, and then there were 8 jolly reindeer flying with delight. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I have a felt board activity about a reindeer with a bit of a nose problem. Rudolph, Rudolph, what will you do? You can't guide Santa's sleigh if your nose is blue. Rudolph, Rudolph, you are such a silly fellow. Who will know you if your nose is yellow? Rudolph, Rudolph, your way cannot be seen through the wintry snow if your nose is green. Rudolph, Rudolph, Santa gave a wink, but what would he say if your nose is pink? Rudolph, Rudolph, it's time to fly at night. But you can't get through the snow if your nose is white. Rudolph, Rudolph, it's time to go to town. But you can't help Santa if your nose is brown. Rudolph, Rudolph, the children are in bed. And now we can get on our way because your nose is red. The last book I'm sharing with you today is titled Good Night, Reindeer, written by Denise Brennan Nelson and published by Sleeping Bear Press. Good night, reindeer. Good night, Blitzen. Time for bed. Good night, Vixen. Good night, Prancer. Good night, Hooves. Good night, Dancer. Good night, Shoes. Good night, Comet. Good night, Stars. Good night, Planets. Good night, Cars. Good night, Cookies. And good night, Toys. Good night, Cupid. Good night, Noise. Good night, Donner. Good night, Day. Good night, Dasher. Good night, sleigh. Good night, workshop. Good night, elves. Good night, dolls. Good night, bells. Good night, Rudolph. Good night, good night. Time for bed. Turn out the light. I hope you enjoyed our time together today. I know I did. Next week, our theme is Christmas. It's time for our goodbye song. Now it's time to say goodbye, say goodbye, say goodbye. Now it's time to say goodbye. See you all next time.